All right. I want to start with Tyler and Mark here. Coach Mears and Mark. I want to throw out some data and get your guys' reaction to these. All right. So you can just go, huh, yeah, no kidding. Or you can go, wow, amazing. So let's throw some stuff out here. The first one, which is more important, do you think? Tennessee's three-pointers or well, here, I'll get to that in a second. Field goal percentage for and against. Left to right is the offensive field goal percentage on that axis. Up and down is your opponent's field goal percentage. As you can see, Tennessee's at the top by a mile. Teams shooting 37% against them. That's best. But look at all those SEC teams to the right of them.
Wow.
Those teams are all better. In terms of shooting, just pure field goal percentage, you're better than Ole Miss, you're better than South Carolina, you're better than Texas A&M right now. Your field goal percentage has been dropping throughout SEC play. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone, but do we have a reaction or no? We can just move on to the next one.
No, I do. Our last segment, we were just talking about how Tennessee has trailed in 3 of those last 4 games outside of Norman, Oklahoma. Seeing Tennessee's inability time in and time out to be able to not make shots. Mark, I asked you this question this past week when you joined us on the afternoon drive. It was really simple. Do you believe Tennessee has a defensive problem? And you perked up and said, Coach Barnes better not hear you say that, because if they've got a defensive problem, then we got a whole other nest issue. Tennessee needs to start hitting more shots because, as I said to you on the show, we already know how March is going to play out if they continue to be in those 20, 30 percentiles we just saw.
A little wrinkle thought around that is I think defense has to be the focus for Igor. Because if Igor is not playing well defensively, Barnes won't have him in the game. And for me, in order for us to make it to an Elite Eight or a Final Four,
right,
we need Igor to be locked in defensively so that he can be on the floor from an offensive perspective.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right. Let's talk about defensive efficiency here. I jumped ahead a whole segment with that other stat. We'll get you there. But the next step I want to talk about is tops in defensive efficiency. Ken Pomeroy does this every year. Tennessee #1 right now in defensive efficiency. You see they were #1 in 2023 as well. There was no NCAA tournament in 2020. That's why it's there in orange, the COVID year. How have these #1 defensive efficiency teams done? In the last 5 years, Iowa State out in the Sweet 16. Tennessee out in the Sweet 16. Texas Tech out in the Sweet 16. Memphis never got in. You go back before that, Texas Tech made the finals. Virginia made the round of 6. Well, they were out immediately. That was that team that was #1 in the country all year long and lost to Maryland, Baltimore County. Gonzaga made it to the finals. Wichita State, Sweet 16. Kentucky, that was the undefeated team that lost in the semifinals to Wisconsin. But you see, those teams that made it to the finals, to the Final Four, offensive efficiency, top 25. You got to have the top 25 offensive efficiency to go with the defensive efficiency. You see up and down the line, the other guys, the other teams that didn't have that, didn't make it. Any surprises there?
Best predictor of the future is the past.
Yeah.
That looks like a roadmap of how Tennessee's season's going to end if they do not get that offensive efficiency climbing.
All right, well, before we react to that, let me give you another stat. Let's go up now here. You don't have to study this graphic. Let's go to the next one. That's small. I'm just showing you that I did my math, okay? If I don't put that up there, people are going to say, he's just making that up. So I'm not making it up, but you don't have to study that. Just listen to me. The gist of that, what that shows you is the last 5 Final Fours. All right, so that's 20 teams that made the last 5 Final Fours. Green means they didn't rank inside the top 25 in defensive efficiency. Red means they didn't rank inside the top 25 in offensive efficiency. The gist is this. 10 of the 20 teams that made the Final Four were top 25 in both categories. So half the teams that make the Final Four, you got to be top 25 in offense, top 25 in defense. 8 of the 20 did not rank in the top 25 in defensive efficiency. Only 4 of the 20 that made the Final Four didn't rank in offensive efficiency in the top 25. In other words, if you want to travel to the Final Four, you better be efficient on offense. Tennessee's about 36 or 37 right now. That would be outside that cut line looking back over history. Is that fuzzy math, or do you put something to it?
Curiosity, and I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you remember where Tennessee offensively ranked last year when they fell short against Purdue? Do you remember where they were going into that Elite Eight game?
It was not top 25. No, I don't remember where.
So if there are a lot of people who would argue the best production that they've seen from a Tennessee team was last year's team, who fell 21, 22 minutes away from a Final Four. Even they wouldn't have met this criteria. I think this is a hell of a nugget, and I think this is an excellent cheat sheet for what's to come over the next couple of weeks and what Tennessee needs to do during this poor schedule that's left remaining in the regular season.
You buy it, Mark, or you sell it on that?
Absolutely. I start
We've
thinking
talked about it for a while.
I start thinking about the refs, NCAA Tournament, like we're very physical. The SEC
Yes.
is very physical.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, if we're not allowed to play defense like we have been with the physicality of getting through screens and fighting screens, we're in foul trouble. And so we got to increase our offensive efficiency.
All right, very good, guys. When we come back, we're going to do more of that, including what is the number one stat, the most important stat? I've gone through SEC play, all Tennessee's SEC games. What's the one stat that has a bigger correlation with winning and losing than anything else? We've talked about it on this show before, but not with the numbers. You'll see those next. Come on back on the Sports Source.